One of the arguments for the existence of God takes as the premises the existence of consciousness, and from that infers the existence of a higher state of consciousness that people will call God.
Well, the very premises of that argument are taken from empirical observations done by sciences and also in everyday life, and there's never been encountered a case of a consciousness that does not have a brain or a body. And so they're trying to explain the consciousness that's dependent on our brain in terms of a consciousness that has no brain, no body, or anything. And so that conclusion contradicts the premises, because its premises are about consciousness that exists on the basis of brains.
Certainly there's no example, the other example that theists can point to, but they would say that that's no proof that the other doesn't exist. The old story, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. You can't exclude that.
I think you can, because in every case of consciousness that's been examined, humans, higher mammals, and even down lower, in every single case, consciousness has been based on the brain. And they've identified the parts of the brain that give rise to it. And so that is a causal necessity, or a law, a necessary law of nature.
But then the argument would be that because consciousness seems so unbelievably special, that is the justification to see a higher exemplification of that same kind of first-person internal awareness.
I think consciousness is not nearly as special to warrant that type of conclusion. Look at human consciousness. Human beings are psychologically immature, morally immature. We're not very intelligent. We don't learn from our mistakes. After thousands of years of existing, wars still going on. So our consciousness, I would think, is something we should be ashamed of, if anything.
Well, I don't think any of that contradicts the point that I'm making. The core point of consciousness, it may cause all these terrible things you're talking about, but there's this internal experience that really cannot be explained by the physical world.
Well, most people, maybe all people, are self-deluded. They believe they are somebody that they really are not. Well, look at all 10,000 different cultures that have existed, and all those different first-person perspectives and self-images. They're all different. And so the likely conclusion is this first-person perspective is deluded. I think human consciousness is far more similar to the consciousness of chimpanzees and dolphins and whales than it is this idealized concept of this God. The jump from us to God is like jumping from chimpanzees to God practically, given that we're not that much more intelligent than chimpanzees. And so I think our consciousness is genetically so inadequate that it couldn't possibly reflect a God who would create us with this astoundingly inadequate, immature, immoral, ignorant, unimprovable, probably more morally evil than morally good. I can't believe that a perfect being would create such things as humans. I mean, the main reason God doesn't exist is that humans exist. And that makes it self-evident that God doesn't exist.